as protests continue following the police officer-involved death of George Floyd on Memorial Day, policymakers are renewing their efforts to address racial inequities and reform police practices. Earlier this week, I spoke with Senator Jeff Hayden, who represents that area of Minneapolis.
The New York Times recently wrote a piece about the Minnesota paradox, outlining, as a liberal-leaning state, the disparities between the life outcomes of whites versus those of blacks. Governor Walz has spoken of how policymakers have been admiring this problem for years. Where does the state begin to address the paradox?
Well, that's a hard question. As a legislator, and I've been here for over 12 years, I feel like I have been doing this work even before I got in the legislature, and certainly since I got there. Shannon, you might remember a couple years ago, we had an equity package of work that Senator Champion and I spearheaded with former Governor Dayton that now has spent over $100 million trying to work on these issues, specifically around some education initiatives for those who've fallen through the cracks, some job training, as well as some entrepreneurship. A lot of that has gone into communities that now are devastated by this tragedy. So we, as African-American legislators and now a growing number of people of color legislators, have really focused on this and continue to focus on it. But we're going to need some help from our allies. We're still outnumbered in the legislature from an ethnic perspective. So we're going to have to gain our allies. And frankly, we're going to have to get some people from across the aisle. And so hopefully some of the issues that we're seeing here via this social unrest will really wake people up and allow them to focus in and become partners in this.
Now, regarding the actual incident, the death of George Floyd, you have called for the arrest of the three now former officers who were there as he died, and you've also called for Attorney General Keith Ellison to oversee all charges stemming from this incident. How will the Attorney General's involvement help in the prosecution of these cases?
Well, I think that Attorney General Ellison is a fantastic lawyer. He's seasoned, and even before he got into Congress and now the Attorney General, he was a practicing attorney. And so I think, and he's come from the communities in which are devastated by this impact. So he has a unique position of being on the ground floor, understanding what the situation, the background of the community, the backdrop, and so he's not foreign to that. The other thing is that the community was asking for that. I've received hundreds of emails from my district that said that this is what they want. And so I know that this gets sticky, and I'm sure that there are some really good attorneys at the county attorney's office, and hopefully they will be supporting the work that the AG does. But the community, frankly, had lost faith in the county attorney in which to do it. And so though that gets to be a little sticky, I think that they have a lot more faith in the Attorney General, and that is why I think that the governor made the move, because he was listening to the affected community.
Now, you talk about the stickiness, and then Senate Majority Leader Paul Gazelka told Minnesota Public Radio that he believes that Keith Ellison is too political, likely in part based on his previous service as a congressman, to handle this case. So does it concern you that whatever the outcome may be in the end, some will perceive the result as being political rather than impartial?
Well, I guess the first thing is, I think we've all watched, and if we haven't, it's because we didn't want to. So we all witnessed it. And that's a little different than in most cases in which there are a lot of evidence and a lot of, he said, she said, back and forth, circumstantial evidence. That's about as far as I'm going to go be a lawyer. We witnessed it. We saw it. So it isn't as if this case is something that, happened in some place that nobody saw and we're just trying to put the details together. We witnessed that. Secondly, President Trump invoked George Wallace in '68 and said, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. So I'm not sure the community feels that the U.S. attorney, and once again, I don't know the U.S. attorney or those folks in the Department of Justice. I'm sure they are fine lawyers. I saw her on TV. Sounds like she's a great jurist and has been a great judge. But the community, if you will, and I'm going to keep going back to that, would not have much faith in that process when the President of the United States is invoking a segregationist in his comments about political unrest in our state.
So you and other members of the People of Color and Indigenous Caucus, often referred to as the Pokey Caucus, have drawn a line in the sand. You have said that there, no votes on a bonding bill or anything else until some reform measures are passed. What do you have in mind?
Well, Representative Mariani has laid out a quite substantial list of things that he'd like to see. The minority in the Senate is in line with that and working on something that maybe won't be so many provisions for a special session, but it really talks about a lot of post-board reform, and that's the organization that licensed police officers, the way in which they license them, the way in which they get their continuing education, their ability to be able to revoke licenses of law enforcement officers who have violated those principles, much the same way we would do if a pharmacist was found hoarding drugs or a doctor was doing things that were unethical. We usually pull those licenses and then investigate. It looks like now an officer comes under scrutiny. They're able, even if they go on administrative leave, they're able to keep their jobs until the investigation is complete. We want to, those are the things that we can do at the state level. We want to also look at the famous Stanek rule, right? Former Representative Rich Stanek and former Hennepin County Sheriff passed some legislation that kind of repealed the ability for us to say that you have to live in the community in which you serve. And that has created quite a dilemma for us. In Minneapolis, 90% of the officers don't live in Minneapolis. So I don't know what the right number is, but I know 10% is probably not the right one. And I think most of us know that if we live and serve in the community, if we live in the community and we serve in the community, we work there, we have a different relationship with the community. I know I do. I live and serve in the community that I live in. I see my neighbors at the grocery store. So there's a different relationship. And we also are talking about the liability insurance. These big time police brutality suits are causing cities and municipalities to pay out a ton of money for the reckless behavior of their officers. The last Justine Diamond case was $20 million the city had to pay, and there's a lot more under that aren't so substantial, but when you look at them accumulatively, it's a lot of money. And so we want to do that, and then also work with the governor and work with the community to find a community policing model that gets into, especially communities like Minneapolis, in which there's been a systemic issue of police brutality and police misconduct, and to totally, go to a more creative solution on how we're going to community police, totally redesign that. Really take a look at that and not just nibble around the edges and go back to normal, because normal wasn't working. And unfortunately, there'll be another Mr. Floyd if we don't really dig in and get this right.
Senator Jeff Hayden, thank you.
Thank you.